I'm recording. Okay, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jenna Blackert.
And I'm Leonka Reina.
And this is our candle lit show because it's raining out and we just
Had a power
had a
out.
power out like 2 seconds ago. So
That's
we are
right.
scrambling, but we have a great guest today. And I was just sharing that I spent like an hour on the phone with her last night and she blew my mind. So I want to just have some phenomenal information and we can listen to it on audio if we need to.
That's right. That's right. Right now. And so, let us know if you can't hear us. And if you do see that we're live, we'll jump back on Zoom on one of our phones. But yeah, we had some really treacherous weather come through the Central Texas area where there was tornadoes that touched, and we had a little bit of it's actually already passed through, and so we've got drizzle outside, but it just so happened that it was like a little bit of like a brownout for a second. We're like, oh, great.
We're
And
like,
then all of a sudden it was straight blackout. So there we are with our candlelight. And it's just a great experience to be able to bring you the show however it goes, right? So
yeah.
just being able to choose it in the way that we can.
So today I first need to thank our beautiful Mystique Society. The shares that we have in the group and the shares that I got from everything in my flow and frequency.
Okay.
And I shared a little bit about that. And I know who that person is, and that person knows who he is. And let me just say, I listened to an interview yesterday and an insane remembrance came through to the point that then I reached out to this person that was on somebody else's show.
Okay.
And he responded back and he says he'd love to be on our show. And then I became even more obsessed and tried to look every single thing that this guy did. His name is Adam Apollo, by like so many freaking awarenesses that, wow, that dragon thing that I continue to do and have everywhere in my life. I even bought a dragon when I was at the beach last week. You can't, it's the little dragon. And I'll have you guys name him. What? Maybe we'll name him Apollo.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, put your recommendations or suggestions in the chat and we'll maybe choose one of those names, a little mascot, little dragon love.
There's the dragon. So that little guy just called me and I thought, I need more of this. I need so much more of this.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get his book and we'll have him on in June. But one of the other things that happened because of this was I I got on the phone with Bianca.
Yeah, with me last night.
Yeah, and we started just kind of riffing and I as we do.
Yeah, for sure.
And I said, gosh, I haven't listened to Gaia in a while, and I know Adam is on Gaia. And I went to bed and I was like, no, if I'm listening to Adam, I like really want to be there. I don't want to fall asleep during this. So I listened to a Gaia thing on lucid dreaming. And one of the recommendations was to connect with your
feedback.
Your lucid dreaming. Is that called lucidity? So to connect and to really start playing with lucid dreaming, the best way to do that is asking a question like, universe, what do I need to see now? And so I'm in this like mystical state, I'm chilled out. And I was like, okay, what do I need to see now? And all of a sudden, this like 70s, like that deep orange and ugly green Tupperware is like in my face. And I'm like, okay. And then I hear Ormetus come in and it says 1978.
That's funny. That was the year I was born.
Yeah. And I was in kindergarten or first grade then. And I was like, okay. And I just sat with it and it's like, I'm not getting this. Like, and a lot of my memory I don't have from that walk-in experience. So I'm just kind of being there. And I was like, okay, so what next do I need to see here?
Okay.
And then all of a sudden it showed me this little girl in the front row of a classroom, like crossing her legs and doing everything she can so she didn't have to tell the teacher she needs to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, okay.
You're talking about, right?
Yeah,
The little girl that had,
it was me.
yeah.
And that it ended up having just this like simple yet profound message. And I was like, and then Hermetus is like, and yes, you were afraid to ask. You're afraid to ask people for what you need. And then she's like, and go and honor that little girl. And now it's time for you to start asking for what you need. And I thought that was just like it's the weirdest, coolest thing. Just like a little mysticism of my timeline. So I wanted to share that with the Morning Brew with Woo.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And if more stuff comes through for that, let us know. For me, I have been, so there's been, so just a little bit of space weather catch up. There has been some really big anomalies that have happened with the Schumann resonance. There has the large giant sunspot 4079. It's still quiet, but there was also that blackout that happened during in France and am I saying that right? In Paris. Am I saying all this right? Spain, sorry, Spain. And there was no flares. So they were saying that this was really anomalous. Yes.
Anomaly.
An anomaly. Anyway, it was a big anomaly. I can't still say the word, but anyway, and I said it French a second ago. But what I'm trying to tell you is that with this particular change, there have been these really odd spikes and these really big odd fluctuations with the Schumann resonance. And I'll put a little bit more on Facebook and in Instagram at our Instagram site at How Hustle Live. But one of the things that I wanted to point out was with this, the shift is actually so much more magnified because we are fully in our time of Aquarius, that we are doing that big purge, that big change. And so when I was reading some of the symptoms that people were having, it's like straight exhaustion. It is nausea. It is people are like, one woman was like reading back and she was saying, like, made a comment and saying like how she feels like she has just gone like, highs and lows, and feels like cannot, was like, okay, I'm supposed to help people and I'm supposed to do all this light worker stuff, but how can I do that when I just feel like I am one day cruising along and the next day just like knockout? And I felt like that. And I know that you had experienced the same. And we also had that same type of energy, not as extreme as this time because we weren't fully in the stage of Aquarius at that time. But when you had that last purge, and just recently, I know that you kind of got sick and you got food poisoning, but you also said you felt like you had to reset. And so our bodies sometimes choose the times. It could just be, I believe everything.
I'm done with it choosing for me.
Yeah. I believe everything has straight coincidences and more than coincidences. They are just what is synchronicities. And so for me, I was talking to you about some of the stuff that's going on with me. Of course, you got some insights that I think that reads pretty well. But the other thing I wanted to just share is like, if you are totally feeling like all over the place, and I keep saying this, just be patient. This is one of the last kind of hoorahs that is really, really different in the Schumann resonance. And remember, the Schumann resonance is usually always really steady, and it's how we measure the Earth's heartbeat, if you will. You can find more information on it in heartmath.com. The other thing I wanted to point out too was that as such, you might be having more lucid dreams. You might be having more things come awake and communication with your spirit guides directly, or you may be having a full-on channel experience where you didn't even know that you could do light language. So I would just encourage you to practice and play with what comes through. I always say one of the best ways to start getting that channeling message is just pick up your pen and pencil and your pen and pencil and a pad of paper and just scribble. Even if you don't know what it is, you'll sometimes get light codes, and those are codes to break you open so that your messages can go, you know, beyond your ego, beyond that frontal cortex, and actually change you within and your DNA. The final last thing I wanted to share was I had a dream during that time, and I mean, I was up and I'd go sleep, and this dream was so vivid. It was as if I was a 7-year-old little boy, and who had just gone with his father. And I'm just going to cut to the fast part. And I remember feeling really scared. And it was like we had just gotten this apartment, and it was like in this really beautiful kind of old abandoned industrial place that they were renting out apartments, and it used to be office buildings, and it was supposed to be really pretty, and it was backed up to some water and gorgeous place, but I could tell that they had these big cockroaches, and I have a super I could tell that they used to have these big cockroaches, and I have a phobia. Like my family has a phobia, like whatever. It is something that we're all dealing with. It's whatever it is, right? So it's those water bugs, right? And so I could tell that they had that. So I had this level of angst. And so I just remember being a little boy and like just trying to make the best of everything. And I also got the impression that I wasn't always, hadn't always lived with my father. And anyway, so we're just trying to make the best of it all. And anyway, fast forwards to when the boy is like 15, and I was like, oh, good, he made friends. And there was like a little circle here. Right. And all of a sudden, out of everyone's mouth is like a CD-ROM comes out of their mouth, and they have this CD-ROM. And in the CD-ROM, it tells me that they have basically it was trauma. They were addicted to trauma. So then I realized that they were like in a weed smoking circle, right? And so they get the other CD-ROM and they put it in like this, right? And it says, it tells me that they had replaced their addicted to trauma with chemical addiction, right? So, but what I realized when I woke up was those are all, the CD-ROM was a clear indication that those are all programs, y'all.
I know. I got that as soon as you said that.
And I was like, because I always make this point to write down my dreams. And so I thought that was so wild. And then there was a couple other things that happened. When I woke up, I was like, oh, that was so weird. But it was specifically showing me how odd these CDs were coming out.
Right.
And so it really wanted me to come back to share this so that we can remember. My spirit guides were specifically saying, that's a program. These are programs. You're programmed. We have programs. And, you know, what are those ones that we can start to spit out of ourselves without having to replace them?
I mean, that's like Neo being plugged in so that he knew whatever he knew, like the karate and stuff like that.
That's so
awesome.
I mean, it just wasn't, and that's something I think of, or I've never utilized that thought like in that way. And it's not something that I would have like just come up with. It was one of those that had to be so weird that I would remember. And I just, you know, again, everything is telling us everywhere. This is the time to purge and be gone with it. Allow the space. We don't have to replace it with something else. Right. In that way, we can connect to our higher selves and to God and to your higher source as our filled, our self is God as well as our filled void. So there you go. That's what I have in today's Mystic Space Weather News.
All right, fun. Well, I'm going to bring it Jill up. And we'll go ahead and get started. Hi, Jill. Sorry about the electricity here, but it'll be fun. It'll be all your show. Can you give me a sound check?
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I was afraid of that.
Do you want me to plug it in?
Yeah, we'll need to dislodge.
Okay.
You'll hear the big thunder.
Oh,
yeah. Hopefully, we're not like in some frenetic funneling here, but we'll let
that's okay. That'll free up my computer from using a little bit extra power if we don't have our mics plugged in too.
It's all good.
So much stuff on this table.
Okay, Jill, try to give us another check here.
Let me turn up my audio though.
That's okay, that'll free up
Oh,
my.
darn it. Hold. Wait. It is a little bit of, now we're all set. Go for it.
Can you
All
hear?
Hi, Jill, how are you doing?
We can hear you great.
All right. Wonderful.
Wow.
Lovely to be
Wow. Well, I have to say you blew my mind yesterday. And
kind.
oh my gosh. I love when people can blow my mind because I feel, I, like you, am a seeker of this work. So when somebody gives me a little bit different perspective, I am like hungry for it. Uh, I I know maybe there's a few people that don't know you, but I would like to take a minute for you to just give us a itty bitty background, especially about some of the remembrance from the Akash and how that woke up in you, just so that the audience knows who you are.
Okay, I'm a musician and I remember past lives and go out of my body a lot. So maybe it's self-hypnosis, space travel, whatever. And the Akashic Records is a pretty good match because within the Akashic Records, you can clear your ancestral lineage. So, let's say your mother was a little abusive. Well, maybe you're in a group soul with 10 women and the abuse was so bad they were murdering their kids and putting them under the doorstep to keep the bad monsters away and being honored for that. Now it's murder, big deal. So rather than trying to undo negativity in one lifetime, maybe a team of 10 people did it. And so we might think of as our mother as abusive, but maybe she gave us a lot less than she got. And the grandmother before gave a lot less than she got. And it shifts your perspective so that we're team members, and then all the anger goes. And so you can go into the Akashic Records, for example, and clean up your genetic line. And it'll pass right through the group soul. You can go in to do physical healing on your body. You have so much more power than you're aware of. You can go in and change your records, which means change your karma. So you can go in and invariably you only change you when you go in. You can't change somebody. Like I can't go in and say, oh, let's skip World War II. That ain't going to work. But I can go in and forgive someone who hurt me. And what that does, it gets rid of fear. It gets rid of my attachment to that person. It enables me to move on my path. And what they did, that's their business, really. I'm an eternal soul, and I allowed that to happen. But it shifts my energy. And sometimes it's really hard for us to ascend or evolve because, especially when we're fairly along the path, we want to be a good person. We don't even think bad thoughts, but underneath those thoughts are bubbles. Maybe you just go throughout the day and you get a little period where you just don't feel so good. Or you remember someone who was just kind of slinging a little shit at you, and so we have these little bubbles. And if you don't bury them, if you give them attention and feel them, like you'll find that you can get rid of them. And particularly along the path now, it's a very cathartic time. And we've lived thousands of lives. So we all have these little past life bubbles of negativity. And they don't need mastered or stepped on. They need recognized and released or transmuted. And you can do all this in the Akashic Records. One of my favorite things to do in the Akash is to go in and ask for my records to be given to me in music. And sometimes they sound really crappy.
Yeah.
And then I just simply keep listening to them until I make them sweet. And in essence, what I'm doing is I'm kind of using my music skills because I like that. But I'm reviewing my bitterness, my anger, my self-righteousness, whatever it is that I had. And I'm changing it into forgiveness and kindness. And it's not like I can hold on to the story where I was wronged, because I don't know what the story is, and after a while you get tired of the dissonance. So you can also go into the Akashic records to meet your higher self. I believe that the record keeper is your higher self.
Yeah.
So you can go in and ask what I need to be seen. You can even go in and they'll show you films. So they'll show you a film of what happened in the past.
Yeah.
Then you ask to run it forward.
Yeah.
So then you can go into the future, because sometimes we really want something. And once we get it, we regret it. Sometimes be careful what you ask for. And
Yeah.
you can take a big
Mhm.
choice or situation, go into the cache, run it forward, and see if you're happy. Because more information gives you better choices.
Wow.
So I don't know. There's just, you asked me for my opinion on the Akash. There's some of the things I use the Akash for.
I wanted to know your background about how you got started with this. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about was this remembrance of Atlantis, because it seems like that is in the field over and over and over again. And you wrote something in a newsletter that caught my eye and my heart, and I was like, okay, we've got to go deeper into this, because this is really
Goodness. You've frozen.
I mean, it's kind of nice there are these stories, right? It helps connect. Can you hear me okay?
But that's okay.
Sorry.
You can't hear us.
Well, I can hear you, but you keep cutting
We'll
in and
probably need to
out.
have you back on. But you know what, Jill, will you talk about Atlantis and we'll just shut up and and you can have the floor. And if we don't have electricity and I'm still tethering, we'll see if we can at least wrap the show in a little bit. Do you want to just take the lead here, and then we can go in the course in a little bit so there's less chitter chatter?
Okay, let
You
me
got some of
know
that?
if I start breaking in and out too, okay?
Okay, you should
Okay.
probably be fine. It's just because of our Wi-Fi. Cool.
Okay. All righty. So let me think.
I'm gonna take it off and rest my light.
You asked how I got into the Akashic. Well, how I really got into the spiritual world was that I gave up my dogma. My son had just written an essay to imagine the magic of a computer. He was 8, and he got to go see Bill Gates. This was 40 years ago, and it was a big deal. It was a publicity stunt for him, a marketing company making him look good around kids. But anyway, it was a big deal for my little kid. And he wrote that, imagine the magic of a computer. So I had just had another baby, and he would watch the baby when I did the dishes. So he didn't like that, because he'd rather play computer games. So he had this idea that the world was a hologram. The computer could make a hologram. So all good little boys could bung their baby brothers into the playpen and go off and play computer games. Anyway, it was a big thing in our lives. And I started to rewrite the Bible. I was fairly traditional at that point in time. This is 40 years ago or so. So anyway, and I wrote the Bible, and I was shocked at how, God had PMS. He was moody. He was vengeful at times. And I came to an epiphany that God is love. And I would reject anything that was different than that. And then I went on this quest. So I went through Babylonia, Egypt, China, the Hindu stuff, the American Native Indies. And I probably read 5,000 or 6,000 books. I'm quite the geek. And I'm looking for this. What is the most loving God? What are ways to be as loving as possible? And what does love even mean? So I'm doing this, and I found all kinds of mentions about sound. So sound was used to grow crops. Sound was used to hurt your enemy. Sound was used to change your pineal gland, to change your pituitary. Sound was used to rehabilitate criminals. I mean, you name it. It was an energy, it was captured, and it was used for everything. It's free, it's cheap, and it's accurate. And it's reusable today. So I started to get into sound healing, and you'll see that as I went through each ancient civilization, so this is my little trip into the Akashic records in Atlantis, but they all had different sound healing methods. And I've spent my life bringing forth sound healing from the vantage point of all these ancient different traditions. And in the Akashic record, one of the ways that I did that was that I simply asked my record keeper, my higher self, to play me a relationship, to play me my future in like a record, like an LP record. And I was able to, and everybody else can too, listen to the music and shift and alter it. And then I followed up on that. And I did a study in a nursing home. So I'm a violinist. So I'm playing my violin. Everybody's frozen. So one day, some guy drops over. I think he's dead. And I'm very upset. Nobody even looks. I mean, they're all kind of frozen, you know, and they don't even move. I was like shocked and dismayed that they were so unable to connect with each other. And they were so alone, and yet they were in a crowd. And you know how when you listen to music, if you're really sad and Mary Sunshine comes in, you want to backslap her. Well, I played sad music because these were sad people. And I did that for a year. And at the end of the year, they were chatty Cathys. I mean, you couldn't shut them up. And it was the music that made a difference. So we went in. I had the intent to heal with the music. And I would play the sorrow with intent to take theirs out. And it did. So in this manner, you know, I'm a sound healer, and I have all these beautiful ways, which aren't sound healing, to go into the Akashic records and use them. But this is, I think, one of the most powerful ones. And it is definitely sound healing. So you can use sound in the Akashic records to change your past. Change your past changes your karma. You can use sound in the Akashic records to change your future. You are the author of you. And that means past, present, and future. So I used to think like the past was set in stone, but that's an illusion. You are the author of your life, and you can change your past. Even in a simple way, you can forgive someone. And your anger, your victimization, your maybe self-righteous anger because you didn't deserve it, and you probably didn't deserve it. But all those kind of feelings, they go away and you change you. And when you change you, you change others around you. So just simply by forgiving, you can change you. So you can go into the past, and when you help your ancestors, you change you at the present moment. When you go into the future, you can like check to see what are the outcome of decisions and perhaps change your current trajectory. And I'm thinking another way you can use, for example, sound in the Akashic records was I would go in, and Akashic records is almost like a hypnotic state when you go in. So I would go in, connect with my record keeper, I believe my higher self, and I'll ask for healing. And when I go into the Akashic records, and anybody else does, you have to trust your higher self, and you have to trust you. So you will often be spoken to or get messages through imagination, through dreams, through visions. And as soon as you start to doubt you, as soon as you start to say stuff like, was that my imagination? Did I make that up? Then you've lost it. Psychic skills is not special for some people. It's simply
I'm
learning.
gonna see if I can speak here for a second.
Oh, that would be great because I'm just
No, I'm loving this. I love it so much. I think
Yes.
that there's so many people that think that their imagination is made up. And what if the imagination was never made up? It was always a part of the divine.
I
So,
believe so.
yeah.
And it comes in the form that is best for us. And if we have a little detail wrong, it either doesn't matter or the image is correct.
Mm-hmm. All right, keep going. This is good. I'm loving this. I want you to talk a little bit about timelines too,
Okay.
and the timeline collapsing that we talked a little bit about yesterday.
Okay.
And how that played into Atlantis and your remembrance of Atlantis, because I think that's really coming online for a lot of people as well.
Okay, and just let me wrap up what I was talking
Yes,
about, which
please.
was using sound to get rid of pain. So I would go into the Akashic record and she would tell me to use my imagination. Sometimes I'd see a healing pool and I would like focus on a pain in my body and sound it out. And then and then the place would look, when I was expressing, communicating, transferring pain, let's say I was looking at a little lake with pretty flowers, they'd all kind of droop and look moldy and die. And then as I projected my pain or the energy blockages out my voice, in a little bit, it would all start to grow back together and then my pain would be gone. Okay. Let me see, timelines. We'll do that one before my remembrances. I'm writing a book right now on the music of time. It's almost done. And the ancients, in particular, the Atlanteans, would describe time as a spiral. So science has already proven that time's a frequency. That's a fact. And if it's a frequency and it changes, so you can think of maybe even time like, ooh. And music does that, not our music system, but when you, with very great precision, analyze music that you hear, music also forms itself in a spiral. And I believe the electromagnetic spectrum is a spiral. So with time being a spiral, there are different frequencies, and different frequencies are going to equate to different emotions, different sound wave patterns. And so as you're going through a cycle, like a platonic cycle, like getting ready to go into a golden age, which we are, and which at the end of Atlantis, they were like at a very similar time that us, they were getting ready to go into a golden age. Prior to a golden age, there's chaos and dissonance. So the waves get the sound waves, every waves, all the waves get very complex, and that means very dissonant. It resonates with the dissonance within your past memories, your past lives. It resonates with religions, with governments, with education, with everything. So the ground and the weather. So dissonance kind of gets stirred up with the option to release so that we can go into the next higher rung of our evolution. And so we're going through this chaotic time, and science teaches is it like a violin, an A here, an A here. So you play this A, this one sings and nobody touches it because energy transfers on the same frequency, fact. But energy also would transfer from a song, like a pattern of frequencies, to the exact same pattern of frequencies. Or let's say you got an object. This is going to have wave interference patterns. This is a song in essence. And if I had two of these identical, they would resonate with each other. So when you have a time period, like right now, with all the conflict and all the change, that's going to resonate on this time spiral with another time that has conflict and all this change. And that would be right before Atlantis fell. At that time, they were very evolved in terms of knowing and foreseeing. So they understood the impending doom and disaster. they're blaming everybody and nobody's cooperating. I mean, sound like today, and everybody's finding fault, and it's the same time. So many people that feel linked to Atlantis, they are, and here we are in a similar time period. And a couple takeaways. One, we all made it. It was impending disaster, but we all chose it. We all learned from it. We all grew. We all went to the next octave. So if we get our fear out of the way, let's say for today, for all the ucky stuff that's going on, if we just let the fear drop out, we help the collective. And we're getting a second chance. And in Atlantis, we're getting a second chance to drop the fear, to drop the ego. And also, I would say to connect with the higher spiritual gifts that we had at that time. Because anybody listening to this obviously has been in Atlantis, or you wouldn't even bother. So I don't know, does that help?
Absolutely. I want you to talk a little bit about how the pineal gland is a part of this as well, and how to change our karmic patterns with sound. You hit on that a little bit, but I feel like there's actually deeper steps for people to take.
Okay. One of my famous examples is I was doing a workshop and we did a regression, which is pretty much like going into the Akashic records. And this lady was in a walker and should have been in a wheelchair. She'd had umpteen failed surgeries on her knees. And we did a past life. We go in like past life is in the cash reading. And she was a general that was defeated. And both of us saw her very clear. She was in like this little red outfit with gold buttons and kind of this little pompous little parade coming down to bend the knee to the other general. And the other general takes out a sword and chops her legs off at the knees, and she bleeds out in front of everybody. So we took about 10, 15 minutes for her to forgive. Now notice, prior to going into the Akash, she had no idea she had anybody to forgive. But we forgive this general, and she walks out without a walker. I got a ton of stories like that. It happened personally with myself, with my brother. We were never close. Never.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
Excuse me? Okay, we never fought, we never argued, but we never talked either. And I saw a past life in the Akash, and it wasn't a pretty one. And I also saw that he was horribly abused at age 2 on. And I had such compassion that I dropped all my righteous anger, for awful things he did. And within a week, he was on my doorstep. He lives 6 hours away, and we've been best friends since. And that's what I was saying earlier when I'm saying, like, one of the good things about the Akash is that I think many of us on the path, we don't think rotten thoughts all day long. We might feel rotten. We might be a little less in energy, but circle into that. Why are you feeling less in energy? And then you start to feel the emotions that surface. Perhaps they're little things that are in the cache, or you could just do a quick meditation, go into the cache, see them more clearly. And then when you forgive, when you love, you change your karma. I mean, that's simple. It's all about love and forgiveness, and because that's who we are. And another thing I also want to say is that it's kind of a big deal, because we think, oh yeah, I got a little better. Oh, cool, I got an insight. But when you think of the whole world, I don't know, sometimes like I feel like I'm, hardly a drop in the bucket. But one of the things I learned from sound and music is that when you look at, let's say, a piano, you go to the low tones, and let's say that's 25 cycles per second. And if you want to go up a whole octave, that's 50, because you just times it by 2. And that's kind of like a pattern in time. You go from one age to the other, you times it by 2. So when you're in the darker tones, lower tones, less evolved to ages, and you times it by 2, let's say you go from 25, I don't know, crazy cycles per light to 50. But let's say you or me or the people in the audience, let's say you're like at a 500. Okay. Now you have an epiphany. You got a really good idea. You start working in the Akash. You start letting stuff go. You go up an octave. Now that's 500 cycles per second of light. And that is a big deal on a world scale. So when you look at us, ourselves and our ascension, and even the stuff from the Akashic record, when you start to look at what you can do for yourself, it's a big deal because it changes who you are. And at these levels, when we start doubling up, it makes a difference in the world around us and the outcomes of world outcomes.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. It's kind of interesting. You know, I'm all about frequency. I mean, the hertz frequencies that we have, you know, change everything always, right? It just seems like if I need some support, all I need to do is put on some sounds and some really beautiful hertz sounds. And I find that for whatever reason, frequency, whether it's sound or smell or something, you know, to that extent is profoundly changing me. Whereas I guess in my younger years, I wouldn't have even noticed and acknowledged to even have this growth. Right. It's just like, yeah, music makes me feel good. Right. Like, and then you realize and you evolve and you're like, wow, I get it now.
Yeah.
I think I mean, from you being a sound architect and an artist, I really find that it's really interesting how you've put one and two together so that you can even like hone in on helping people release through sound.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
almost every pain, sad songs can vibrate pain within you. Find it. And that's when you go into the Akashic records. Sometimes they'll play you sad songs. And what they're doing is, you'll even, if you pay attention, it'll vibrate a certain place in your body.
Let there be light.
You said everything. That's okay. Let's see if I can be the host.
Okay.
And anyway, then it'll pop off if you have the intent. Now, if you do not have the intent to release, it will double up. So if you're a really, really, really disturbed person and you listen to disturbed music and you're hanging on to your pain, you're going to amplify your problems. So it comes down to intent. And maybe this is a good segue to talk a little bit about the voice. So we were also talking about the voice class in the package, but one of the things
let's go into that for a minute, because that was something else we talked about last night. And I guess when I think of voice, I just think of saying whatever I need to say and having that full expression. But when we're talking about singing through the voice, there are you have all the octaves and all the different flavors. And I guess even in your speaking voice, you do as well. And one of the things that we talked a little bit about was that you can really be heard when you know how to play with these voice octaves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. Yes.
Okay. Right off the bat, whoever taught us that voice was exchanging words, I think they had horns and a spiky tail. Because that's a small part of what's going on. Hello. 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 I mean, in no case was my message hello. The words are a carrier and they're actually a sound form, an emotion, spirituality, even healing energies can combine like a carrier. Think of your voice like a choo-choo train, and you can load it up with stuff. And it's also like a water pistol. So you can send it and connect. So not only can you use it to heal yourself, but you can use it to give someone exactly what they want. Healing comes in so many flavors. So your voice is a combination of every frequency in your body. All your nerves go through the far reaches, pick up all the frequencies, and they run through your vagus nerve. So when you're sick, you're missing voices. When you're happy or when you're angry, it's very different. because you're expressing all these different aspects of yourself, even including your personal evolvement, your physical health, your personality, your level of ascension. It's all in the sounds of your voice. So then the ancient words, they were more like, they were not symbolic. The ancient languages of light, Hindu, Sanskrit, ancient Egyptian, ancient Hebrew, and there's another one. But anyway, they were the actual sounds of a vibratory pattern. Like if you were to get underneath the drum and put some sand on it, and you go, Om, the sand's going to go out to the edge of the drum, come on back in. It's going to make the symbol they use for Om. So Om is that symbol. Yeah.
What?
Yes.
It's also in cymatics. So in cymatics or chymatics, you can see this and how it's been duplicated.
So our languages are dumbed down.
Let me just like take down the oh my gosh.
Which is
what?
Which
Sorry.
is also fascinating because
But you're being in Atlantis. Okay, you're in Atlantis. We're all telepathic. Why do we need words? You know, telepathy is going to have this thick range of feelings, thoughts, communication. Words is kind of like text now. It's just such a dumbed down, it's a sleazy word in comparison.
We've had many conversations about that.
Right. And how we use words here, I always talk about when I would talk to Jennifer, I'd be like, wait, whoa, don't say that. Her go-to was, I don't know. And I'm like, you do know. You do know your words are codes. But during the time of Atlantis, we didn't have to rely on this form of communication that we have. And so that's the reason why your channel, whenever you ask for her, you know, your Hermetis for her name, she didn't really have
the word,
right?
Because it was like a
like,
sound.
I don't want to give myself as the word. You know, you made me do it.
Oh my gosh, Jill.
Funny.
So I guess it was about 2014, and this frequency, this 5D frequency, this really weird stuff came through to me, and I knew then I was oneness, and I could change things, and I could contribute to changing something in the field that would change something in the physical eventually. And I mean, and actually, when I do some of the
Uh-oh, you're frozen again. Okay.
Darn it. But when it's like this little noise, right? These noises go on, and I don't really even vocalize them. It's like,
and they're also downloads.
Mr. Dragon.
Because their energy, they could be for your pancreas. They could be for your evolution.
and it knows exact, and it's an intelligent energy.
Yes.
Anyway, where it came, the word, going back to the words, I was looking for a word to call this method that I did, and I asked, and it was like, oh, like something like that, right? And
That's all vowels.
It didn't match a human language, right? It was all vowels.
But notice it's all vowels, and that's important because vowels are very different than consonants. So vowels are a harmonic chain, A, E. Notice it's the same pitch, but E sounds higher. It's an after ripple of sound. It's another pattern that resonates back and forth through time and through space. So the harmonics, think of them kind of like as an energy stream, and there's different types of them, A, E, I, O, U. But the consonants are kind of like chisels that are shaping that flow. So you're creating a shape.
Interesting.
It's just interesting that they only gave you flow.
Right. Well, so the word that came through in my head when I put it together was awesomeness. I call that method awesomeness, right? And then when the clarity of the channel came online, then it became, and I know that there's even more clarity and there's more tuning here with this frequency, but then it became, no, it's Ometus, right? And it was this like clearer word. And I was like, so is this awesomeness? And it was,
funny?
and it was
Or
so
imagine,
similar, but
yes.
my control freak brain wanted a real word to go with this method that I do, right? And I don't know, it's just so funny how we have these conversations and things just keep coming together and openings just keep happening. And I just want this for the world, right? Because it just makes life so fun. This is just such fun work to be like, wow, everyone on the feed, there's an aspect of me in them. Yeah, and there's an aspect of
You
them in
resonate
me.
with them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
like
Or
we're
not.
drops from this oneness ocean.
Well, here's another thing with the voice that's in the voice
Yes.
class is that you can heal yourself with the voice by simply asking your higher self, what are the frequencies I need right now?
Right.
Mhm.
And
And
wouldn't you go into some hum is
and the rhythm
rhythm.
changes, the pitch changes, and both are influential in your body.
Oh,
But if
Yeah.
I look at one
So
of you, okay, so I'm going to look at you, and now we're linking.
mm-hmm.
Now, my voice is going to be a bit different. This is
Yes.
the pitch you need.
Yes.
And it's a calming rhythm, more like
You
water.
sound like her.
Right? Oh my God. I feel like I feel it here and
Yeah.
here.
And just because I hear her voice all of the time, you like embodied the sound. It wasn't like you were mimicking it. It was like you sound like her. Like her.
Her body triggered me.
Yeah.
What came back was what she needs at this moment. So
Yeah.
in this voice class, that's the whole idea is
Wow.
you can be in your head, you can be in your heart,
I can't wait
you
to
can
do
be loving, or
doing this class.
you can eat, one of the methods that I have in there is that I liken the voice to the elements. So if someone's depressed, hey, let's get going. How about this? And if you speak like that for a while, forget what you're talking about. That
Ooh.
energy and that pump
Yes.
up, it's like taking adrenaline. Or if somebody's way, way stressed, the watery voice.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they're can't make up their mind and they're floating around, then it's grounding.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we think that we're not one, but we are.
Yeah.
Are
And
these
so in this manner, you just focus on someone. You can go to the grocery store and heal the cashier. I mean, how cool is that? And they don't even know it's like drive-by healings. All you need to do is kind of like maybe think you have like your mouth and your heart, for example.
okay?
Could you imagine how your world would change if every word was loving?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So it's
I used to call that modulating, right? Like you meet them kind of where they're at, and then you take them up just a little octave. But it is funny, you do it through sound, and maybe I have some of that in me, but I feel that I do it with frequency. Like it's just, I mean, I can, I feel this 10, right? If I say this collective group, like just off in peace, I will be like,
yeah, I felt it coming. It was
yeah,
coming right out of here.
yeah. And I know that we all have this magic. It's just practiced. Yeah, and it's so cool.
It is so cool. I don't want to put you on the spot as far as like, medical or anything like that, or, make any claims that that we don't want to make. But have you seen changes within someone's body or even maybe their outlook on life, how they're operating? Can you give us a couple more examples of maybe they've tried all kinds of stuff, right? They've tried, all the self-development. They've listened to,
Mhm.
various.
Well, just think about this. Think about somebody who's got an abusive husband.
Okay.
Okay. You'll notice they talk a little bit like this.
Wowzers.
Yes, they do.
Is that a biomarker?
Wow.
And what if they change their voice to this?
Yeah.
They can even say, okay, honey.
Yeah, and change their body language to this,
Yeah. And the thing is you don't have to say those scary words, but the mere voice changes them. So Hazrat Inyat Khan, he's a Sufi master. He used to say the fastest way to evolution is just spending 5 or 10 minutes a day working on your voice.
Oh my goodness. I really want to play with this. As one of my intentions at the beginning of the year was that my communications would come through clearer, because I just have a lot of little noisy words inside a lot of my communications. And so this would be another place for me to play, is to play with various octaves and almost make my voice musical.
Or
Actually, it's funny.
change
I did
different colors, change your voice with chakras. Like
Right.
this. Okay, here's your crown chakra.
Yep.
Your crown chakra is
Does.
violet.
Each of them kind of have the different.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, your throat chakra, or go to your solar plexus, where you believe in yourself.
Wow.
And it is not stuck up, but it enables someone else to believe in themselves.
Right. Wow.
So, you can shift for colors. Anyway, that's what the voice class is about.
Yeah, love
Well,
it.
I just want to show, we put a special offer together for you. And I just wanted to, tell everyone what is inside of it. And I just, I feel like we worked hard. I don't want to use the word hard. Is that funny? Diligently to put something really, really special together. So I want you guys to see the special offer that Jill generously offered to us.
There it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's actually 2 of her classes.
Oh, yeah,
There's
this is
one
nice.
called the Atlantis Rising, and the other is called the Change Your Voice class, which is what we just talked about and how that works. And so there's a lot of written here if you want to know more about the Atlantis myth. But
So I would
think
say
that it's
in the Atlantis class, we go into the history of Atlantis. We go into healing with Atlantis. We go in with, I think it's written there. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see. Where are my other pair of glasses?
I think it's written here.
There.
Yeah.
Okay. Going into the Akashic program. And
Oh,
another thing I found is kind of like it teaches you to go into the Akash. And another thing is when you do out of body, like OBEs kind of, it's very important which chakra you go out of. And when you enter the Akashic record, it's also important which chakra you go out of. So I teach how you can get different information from your soul star, from your heart, from different vantage points, and also what do you call them? Pressure points, trigger points in your body that'll help you release, clear, heal, harmonize, clear your ancestral lines. And they're really ancient. Let me see what else we got here. Go into a past life regression that you can do to remember one of your personal lives, and a ton of different ways of advancing your psychic skills, including opening the pineal gland.
Yes.
And, I don't know. I think it's and crystal skulls.
I was just going to ask about that.
That's
fascinating.
Yeah, Tony offered a crystal skull. That's like a big thing going on.
Well, somewhat unevolved way to look at it is that it's macabre. But remember, we talked about this having a song, a shape, because the waves inside bounce off on the glass. They're going to bounce off inside, and the air is going to bounce off it. It's going to create a frequency pattern. And if I had another identical one, they're going to share.
Wow.
So what does the skull resonate with? So there you go. You got something that's crystal, that is like a computer that sends high frequencies, high information. It can resonate right into your head. And I go into, I don't know how many, a good handful of different ways to program your skull to like lift your head.
Our physical skull.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the secret. It's not macabre. It's the same shape as your skull, so it delivers information there. How cool is that?
Fascinating work.
Yeah.
I said it's fascinating work, especially since I feel like sometimes when I ask with my soul about some questions, it always shows up and it always reveals the truth. So the two things that stood out for me today were the resonance and how the octave, how to view it as far as like the doubling of the octaves and how we have frequency that increases the frequency there. And then this crystal skulls. Now the work in this is fascinating because it's becoming much more prevalent and people are really acknowledging that this is a real thing that existed. And how can we use that technology now that more people are having this awareness to work with them and to have that resonance, that new healing that's available. It's not new, but it's just a newer awareness that we're having. And as more people accept these premises, then we have more that come online. And so I just find this work so, it's not, like I said, it's not new, but it's so forward thinking.
Well,
It's
you're
that
going to
area that-
resonate with it because I believe everybody on this show has been in Atlantis.
Yes.
Because we're trying to remember.
Yeah.
And there's a ton of stuff in here on remembering.
Wow.
And by show, you mean everyone that's here in participation, anyone that might listen to
Listen on the
replay.
replay.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're hearing this, it's by
I
no
would say
accident.
So if you were never in Atlantis, you wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like
No,
I up for joy in knowing that, because yes, that resonates very well with me. And I'm sure it does with others
Yeah.
on this call.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it.
Yeah. One of the things in my QHHT session with Leonka, it was kind of interesting because I remembered like the things that were so, emotional, like being taken from a family or my planet, burning us out, right? And it makes me wonder if Atlantis for me maybe wasn't, it's like an awareness, like it seems like, yes, there's a remembrance, but I wonder if something insanely significant didn't happen because it's not such a clear thing or something like that.
Well, think to this. When I do a lot of past life regressions and going to the Akashic records, there's an awful lot of people who thought, if only I had done this, if only I had been better, maybe I could have done this, and even those that were blaming out at each other. When you blame out, it's because you feel less than whole, and you have to blame out to hide that lack of wholeness. So it's like if you could take everybody in Atlantis, let's say all of us, okay, prior to the catastrophe happening, and we're all going to pick a straw, and the short straw was going to be responsible for Atlantis falling. Every one of us gets a short straw.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm finding in my readings. It's like somewhere along the line, they keep saying, this is so bad. There was something I could have done. I'm less than, I didn't do enough. And I think the lesson we need to learn is that we planned it. It took us up to the next octave. We're eternal. We're still here. Let's not blame ourselves. And the fact that we are not enough, it's a lie. It keeps us earthbound. It keeps us low vibes. It keeps us in pain. And how can we not honor our higher selves? How can we not see that, okay, we're down in duality, and duality is plus and minus, but above us and all this, it's just beautiful. And this is who we are. And we're choosing that. It's like we're bored. So we're going into a theater and we're going to have a lot of drama. We don't have to say we're bad people because we went to the theater.
Right.
We're not, and we are enough. And I think that's maybe one of the blessings of Atlantis rising.
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for Jill's offer, you can find it at houthustle.com/Jill. Hout is HAUTE, hustle.com/Jill. And it will also, of course, be in the YouTube caption, and it'll be in the newsletter shortly after the show. Oh my goodness, what a phenomenal call. I'm so sorry that we didn't get to go deeper because of our little power outage.
But happy
But
that
wow,
yeah.
happy that you could still run our show. So thank you.
Thank you. Many blessings.
Happens for a reason. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that was very fun. Again, you get 2 courses from Jill. It's $77. And also we have a Mom's Day sale
Aw.
through Thursday for 25% off everything that we post.
So
But
that
it
is-
doesn't translate to the
It's
speaker.
not coming off of
It-
yours,
your-
Jill,
your
but we're
half,
still-
I don't care.
But it would apply to this,
Yeah,
just so
so-
you know.
Yeah, right. So if you are having any, let's just say, you might want to give some suggestions to other people that might be buying for you, or if you just want to buy something for yourself and just treat yourself to, you know, something a little bit more insightful and more deep than just the regular old spa day. I totally invite you to take advantage of the 25% off discount that we're doing for Mother's Day. I mean, I know for me, like I slid a couple of insights over.
So we
to
did
some-
your
yeah,
husband.
yep, totally did that before because I was like, I don't know if I'll just run away. I always used to have this problem with, you know, spending money or buying stuff for myself,
Mm.
but I also didn't want another bouquet of flowers that I felt
Right.
so bad about getting cut down anyway and that we're gonna die. So I did, you know.
So you're like, here's a digital product I would like.
Here's a course I want to take and I want to learn more
Yeah.
about. And he was so for it. I
Mhm.
mean, and of course he gets to reap the benefits because I also tend to be a little bit nicer after
Uh-huh.
learning a little bit more about forgiveness. So again, just another some way to just make Mother's Day a little bit more special for you as well.
And happy Mother's Day to you, Jill.
Yes.
And thank you. Any
Thank you.
final words that you want to say?
Oh, let the music play you. You're an instrument.
I
How
love that so
beautiful.
much.
Thank you. All right,
Okay.
well, we've got a couple more announcements, so I'm going to unpin you.
Okay.
And one of the announcements I had yesterday, I made 3 new hypnosis MP3s. And every time I do it, it seems like they elevate me to a point that I really, really hope that they're elevating you. So one of them is just for females, women only. It's called the Sacred Balance. And I did another one that I introduced in the Mystique group, and they got it for free. But you guys that aren't in Mystique would have to purchase it. But with the mom's discount, you can get it for only $15 and it's already in the shop. So if you're looking for something to kind of just inspire you, get you into more oneness, get you more into creativity, the creative roots is really about helping you if you've been stuck around an idea or an intention to help you get unstuck. So if these call you, go ahead and look in our shop. That's in the newsletter. I should make a simple link for that as well at some point, but it's in the newsletter. It's houthustle.myshopify.com if you really want the link. I'll also make sure it's in the caption.
And the way to get onto our newsletter is to just go to www.houthustle.com. That's HAUTE hustle.com. So you'll get all of the speaker special offers. You'll see Jill's there. You'll see the 25% off as you get the emails. And you'll also see Janet's beautiful new hypnosis there too. So be sure if you're not seeing something and you're looking for something, you can always email us at team@houthustle.com. Same spelling, HAUTE hustle.com.
And 25% off does also apply to frequencies and chakras, which are our initial programs. I'll make sure that's in the newsletter tomorrow, just so you've
And
got
just
quick
so
ones.
people know what frequencies and chakras are.
So frequencies is $8 and it's 8. I've used these on the background of my hypnosis because they are just such high frequency. They're just so good. And when I was using them as background tracks, I thought, well, why not just sell these tracks?
They're healing sounds,
They're
so healing tracks.
Yes, they're healing tracks.
Audio,
And then I had the same sound engineer do another set on all of our chakras. So it's a frequency literally to spin open and heal, I guess, I don't like the word heal, but connect greater with your chakras. So if those call you, the frequencies is just $8, chakras $27, and you can combine them and get 25% off both of them, and they're hardly anything.
Yeah, we're
So
really excited about putting those together for you.
the
The
sale
other-
is only on through Thursday, by the way. And
Oh, are you kidding?
yeah, no, it's a quick thing.
No, I definitely
Okay.
should be through Sunday. Because what if it's
Okay,
the day
wait,
of?
okay,
Like
all
my
right.
husband, who always shops the night before. Come on.
Okay, fine.
Make it easy for people.
Point taken. Okay, I will make them valid through Sunday.
Because what if you're sitting there and I didn't get the gift that I really, really wanted and I want to give it to myself? Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
take
okay.
advantage of the
Okay,
25%
great.
off, but it does cut off at
Yeah.
midnight.
And you could get the frequencies on Sunday and then download them and go to the massage and, and really have your own personal
Totally,
spa day.
totally. It's really fun because it's just a quick and really seamless way to create some healing. I know I used to always struggle about whenever somebody would say, hey, you need to balance your chakras. I'm like, great, how do I do that? And so this is just one of those ways that now I can, really tap in and say, okay, I feel like my throat chakra is not, feeling kind of clear, or I feel this, my sacral chakra is not, not really feeling clear. I don't feel it all in my power. I can just put on that specific frequency or the specific chakra healing audio. And we don't want to call them healing, but the audio that is associated with maybe my sacral or my throat. And I tell you, it just changes things. And I know that it's changing things, and and I don't want to use the word healing, but I know that it is creating that balancing that we're really looking for.
That's probably a better word for
that
it.
balancing that that my body is truly looking for.
Yeah.
As we navigate through this, this human experience.
I know.
Plus, it doesn't force me to have to do something extra that I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm really excited to learn more about the chakras through Adam Apollo too, and I can't wait to he's my next newest obsession.
Oh, very fun.
So get ready. Between him and Stephen Greer and Joe Dispenza, we're gonna start flying here.
That's right. Manisha says, wow, amazing call, Jill. Thank you, Dennis and Leonka.
Phenomenal call,
Happy
Jill.
Mother's Day to all moms, Dana says. Dana also says, I'm doing Creative Roots today. Awesome.
Yes.
Another shout out for Creative Roots from Joe. He says it's what got him unstuck last week before he got sick. So very, very cool. Lots of great feedback for today's call, even though we had to do it in the dark
at the beginning. I'm glad we did it.
And I'm just saying that in case you popped onto the video and you're like, why were they in the dark? It is because the electricity went out and we still have the show go on.
Yeah,
so
we could tether.
that's right.
We'll see you on Thursday. We are talking to Fallon Jordan, who is a brain health coach.
Exactly.
And she works with people with ADHD, anxiety, depression, dementia,
Neurological.
even. Yeah. And it should be a little bit different show. I'm kind of excited to have a conversation with her.
Oh,
for sure.
absolutely.
Yeah, she's great. All right, you guys, we will see you on Thursday. You have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.